We're approaching the midway point in the federal election campaign, and party leaders are working their way around the country, making their case to Canadians. And the CBC News fact-check team is looking at what's being said on the campaign trail, and Jonathon Gatehouse joins us to talk about what they found. Jonathan, good to see you again. So Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives held their biggest event of the campaign last night, drawing thousands to a rally in Edmonton, and it featured a lot of promises for the future and many claims about what the past Liberal government has and hasn't done. Was there anything that stood out?
Yeah, that's right, Andrew. I mean, it was a statement about Canada's middle class and how they fared under previous Conservative government compared to the Liberal one. Here's a bit of what Poilievre had to say.
The New York Times had just declared that Canada had the richest middle class in the world.
So that's true. The New York Times did write that back in 2014, based on their own analysis of data from the LIS. That's a cross-national economic data bank in Luxembourg. However, it was in the context of discussing income inequality in the United States, how the income of the wealthiest Americans had grown faster than any other nation, while lower and middle-class earners had seen their pay slow and stagnate, allowing Canada's middle class, which had traditionally lagged behind the U.S., to catch up and surpass the American one in terms of after-tax income. In his remarks last night, Poilievre harkened back a decade to a time of low inflation and interest rates and much lower housing costs, blaming the Liberals for the spiraling cost of living and housing and suggesting that Canada's middle class no longer ranks atop the world. That part is harder to put your finger on. The cost of living crisis isn't just limited to Canada. Many countries have suffered inflation and felt the pinch of rising prices and housing costs since the COVID pandemic. And in terms of the middle class, there's not much current data or even really a consensus on what middle class means. The last LIS study dates back to 2019, when the New York Times revisited the issue and declared that Canada was still ahead of the US. One measure that the Times used then was median net worth for households. The latest US figures released last summer was $176,500 US, while Statistics Canada puts the median household net worth here at $519,700, or $365,000 US dollars at today's exchange. So by that measure, the Canadian middle class is still doing better than their counterparts in the US. I mean, although that's certainly not how people feel, given the challenges they are experiencing right now and the events of the past week.
I'm not going to let Mark Carney let rich investors with deep pockets from other countries buy up homes that should go to Canadians.
So the NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh, was on the attack today, accusing Mark Carney of working to cancel a federal law that bans foreign investors from buying residential homes. Does that claim hold up?
So at the beginning of 2023, the Liberal government brought in a law that banned foreign investors from buying up Canadian residential properties for 2 years. And in early 2024, they extended that ban until the beginning of 2027. Singh is claiming that new Liberal leader Mark Carney wants to reverse that ban. He's pointing to comments from a major condo developer in British Columbia who said he was, quote, working with Carney to allow foreign investors to buy properties to try and boost the rental market. But the Liberal housing platform doesn't make any mention of reversing that ban. And in fact, the party is pledging to become a major developer if elected, promising to double the number of homes built annually in Canada to nearly 500,000. We asked a party spokesman about Carney's exact position on the ban, but have yet to receive a response.
All right, Jonathan, thank you.